Greetings once again, Taekwondo family, and welcome to Miami Minutes, the show that's here to wake up the neighbors 1 minute at a time. I am one of your hosts, John Parker.
And are we fighting or what, John? Like, what's happening here? It's me, Niall McGowan.
You want to fight? You want to fucking fight?
There's so much improvised dialogue in this minute that's just sort of like, this is what editors are for, guys. Like, this is, and it's also what scripts are for. But well.
Yeah, it seems like they weren't bothering with that though. No, we'll figure it out. We'll just improv. And nobody's ever got annoyed by improv.
So it felt like this was like maybe when they were making Curb Your Enthusiasm, they watched this movie and they're like, maybe we shouldn't do that.
It's a miracle that Curb works, because I'm sure there's amazing improv people out there. I'm sure there are. But all improv I have seen is awful.
Yeah.
Like almost universally. And somehow they pull it off in that.
Didn't you tell me once though? There's like, because I know there's a musical improvised podcast, isn't there?
Yeah. I've got it like on my podcast list, to check out, but I've never actually got to it yet. Yeah,
that sounds. I think I've had that advertised to me too, like on another podcast from like what do you call that? The big network Wolf.
Earwolf. It's on Earwolf.
Earwolf. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's been advertised to me through that, and even the pitch, I was like, no. Because you people are not going to be as funny as you think you are.
That's the problem with improv. It's like funny to your friends,
Yeah. And people might be listening to us going like, oh, this dickhead, he ain't as funny as he thinks he is. The thing is, I don't think I'm funny. I'm just here doing a thing and just seeing what happens. So.
That's the thing. And you know what? I won't criticize stuff like that podcast. Again, I've not listened to it yet. Because... you know what? Maybe they're doing it for them, like we do. Maybe they're just doing it, and if people happen to like it, so be it.
Yeah. It's just like, you're just gonna get that with a lot of, because a lot of LA comedians are all friends and they all just want to hang out with each other and stuff like that. Like, it just, this means. It was very evident in the last season of, What We Do in the Shadows.
Yeah,
because I love Kristen Schaal. And there's no need for her character to be in that show 99% of that.
I love that she's there, but it's pointless in the plot or anything.
Oh, yeah, it's very much just like we just like having her around, so here she is. And it's just like, you could be giving these lines to anybody else. Like, there's just no point. Like, what is her character? She doesn't really have one. She just is there and putting on a voice and being like, yeah, she's a vampire. Like, that's the thing. It's like, everyone else has a distinct personality. She does not, because she's just sort of like, no, we just like having Christine around. So
I think that's the thing. Like, she was really good in the season before because she was used so sparingly. Her character had a purpose. But this was just like, we don't want to get rid of her, though. Like, everyone likes her. Yeah. I like her.
So the guy, remember this is Mabel from Gravity Falls. Like, she was an amazing character in that. And now it's just like, well, I'm happy she's getting the paycheck. But...
well, let's earn our paycheck. Let's talk about minute 30 of Miami Connection.
We have hit the 30 minutes, John. We're like, well, that's like what? Well, it's like just over a quarter of the way through the movie, maybe.
No, it's like over a third of the way, isn't it?
Holy moly! So we are on the way.
I'll tell you exactly right now. Miami Connection, in minute-by-minute chunks, has 87 minutes.
Oh, yeah. So, definitely a third. Yeah. So,
and 3 of those minutes are exclusively credits.
I've never sat through the credits of the Miami Connection, so I'm curious, was there other songs that we didn't know about or something?
We're going to have a real time getting through those. Stick around to see what we do. We're going to come up with something, I'm sure.
That should be the only minutes for guests, is to get credits.
Just to help us more than anything. Yeah. But minute 30 starts with a mean fam, and it ends with no longer an ORPHAN.
Oh, I could not believe that that it cuts off not just the line, it cuts off mid-word. They've been waiting the whole damn show to get to this minute, and then it says, "We are all." What? You can't do that.
I'm gonna allow us to talk about the full line. It's so close to a completed sentence. It's so
like
close.
That the Simpsons, where like they're watching the Itchy and Scratchy, where they like Scratchy finally gets itchy, and you're just like, I've waited so long for this moment, and then just ORPHAN.
Wow, they'll never let us show that again.
And I feel too, if anyone is listening along with us, like watching it minute by minute, they won't get the full glory of the Orphan. They'll just be like, oh yeah, so he started one word, and I don't know, maybe the edit made it weird. It's like, no, he says Orphan, and it is weird.
Oh well, we are back as John continues to harass Jim about this letter, and the way he screams at the start of this minute had me in stitches.
It's weird because we built up to it the whole album, but they're coming in now with
It's so weird. I put it on loop. It was just endlessly going.
That's like back in the day, I'd be like, "Oh, that's my new ringtone." But no, people don't do that anymore. They don't have the personalized ringtones these days.
Oh well, old people do, because he's my friend at work, but he is old, right?
Yeah.
I say he's like, what is he, like nearly 60? He is the one I've told you about off mic who's obsessed with Hellraiser.
Oh yeah,
and he's watched the new Hellraiser now about 12 times. Yeah, and he spent all of last weekend, as of recording, ripping his favourite lines from it and making them like his text message tones and things. So when he gets a message, you're sat in work, and it just starts going off about, you have chosen the lament configuration. I was like, what the hell?
Oh man, it's such a mid-2000 things to be doing.
It made me feel old in a way, because like, Jesus Christ. It's like a bygone era.
Yeah, no, I just remember one of my friends in university, he had lines from Blue Velvet. But he'd be talking to like professors and stuff, and he'd just be getting like, hey, who is this fuck? Like coming out of his pocket. Like,
oh, that's such an inappropriate one to use. I love it.
Yeah, I'm sure now was like whatever way the youths Gen Z have. Like a long time ago, I just went to like, as soon as I get a new device, it's like turn off all the keyboard clicking, all of that to vibrate. That's all I ever need. Because it's just every time I choose a ringtone, it's like, oh, that's a good one. And then like after like 2 days, I'm like, nope, I hate it. Can't stand it anymore. So it's like, just if you need me, you'll just message me. That's what most people do. And if not, if I'm expecting a phone call, I'll be there waiting for the vibration. So
exactly.
Do not need a ringtone.
No, I don't even know what mine is. Mine's just the default Google one. I don't know what it sounds like.
Yeah. Well, now, John, it could be ladder if you wanted it to be.
I think it should be, and we should sell it to people like we used to do back in the day. You know, we'll sell that text tone to you for $3.99.
It's polyphonic and everything.
Polyphonic. Remember when polyphonic came out? I thought this sounds worse. Like just the basic beeps were better.
Yeah, now I remember upgrading to a polyphonic phone and been like, the wave of the future. It's like I'm getting into the polyphonic spree. They must be the band of the future. It's like, when was the last time you heard of the... It's like, never heard of them again.
Turns out the band named themselves after the tones. Yeah.
I'm sure they probably did. Whatever happened to them? Like, so I remember they were also a big thing in the mid-2000s, and then, like, I'm sure they're still around. It's like, they were basically a cult. You can't get rid of them that easily. So.
Well, when a band disappears like that, I assume they've been sex pests.
Oh, that's dark,
but you know.
That main guy from it, though, I can see it. Like, yeah. It's very, like, yeah.
I don't want to be slandering this band I know next to nothing about, but if you disappear like that, I'm going to assume you're a sex pest.
Yeah, that's so... No, actually, it wasn't a sex thing, but I just found out because I watched, last night I watched the documentary about Sinead O'Connor that was, and notably, you know, her big hit song was a cover of Prince's Nothing Compares to You, and the song is not in the film.
Is that a money thing? It's
not a money thing, it's that Prince's estate said she didn't deserve to use the song.
Oh.
Even though it's like her, like it's synonymous with her. Like,
and Prince was happy for her to use it.
Well, that's the thing, because I put up about this, and I was like, oh, yeah. So, and I put up, like, an article. I looked it up, saw an article, and they're like, yeah, basically Prince's estate saying, his version, like, from live at Paisley Park back in 1990, that's the best version. It doesn't compare. Nothing compares to that version. She doesn't deserve to use it. And I was like, that is a very Prince move. Again, the state is following in his spirit to be like, this is a really random dick thing to do. But our friend Jimmy, he messaged me going, I've read Sinead O'Connor's autobiography. And I guarantee you it's because she had a story about Prince in there that painted him in a pretty heinous light.
Oh, so you think he came up with that rule before passing?
Or like his estate, like his relatives or whatever, read it. Because basically the story was that they invited her around to the house, big mansion, Paisley Park, and he would only speak to her through the butler. And then there's no lights on everywhere. It was the dead of night. And he made her eat cold soup at one point.
This tracks with what we know of Prince, though.
Oh, yeah, and the big thing at the end was that he kept telling her that she needs to stop swearing because, Prince is he was very devout, like, despite all the sexiness, very devoutly, like, he's a Jehovah's Witness, so he's very, very religious.
Really religious people aren't meant to be just going around banging people.
But, well. And then, apparently then they got into a huge, like, proper, like, verbal spar about, like, her just telling him, I'll swear if I want, go fuck yourself, basically. And then Prince challenged her to a pillow fight.
Oh my god!
And in the midst of the pillow fight, he put in some big massive chunk of something really heavy.
Oh no! You can't ruin the sanctity of the pillow. No.
Yeah, no. It was designed so when he hit her, it would do damage. No. And that also is like we watched. People don't know. Me and John reviewed all of Prince's movies for our hiatus between Batman '89 and Batman Returns, and judging by the humor of Prince, because he co-wrote those movies, and the jokes in them are so weird. That seems like something like I see that story and I'm like, that's 100% true because that sounds like something that Prince would think was hilarious.
Oh, totally. Yeah, no, that tracks.
Yeah, I have no doubt that happened. So I'm just like, well, I guess the thing is, though, Prince was always kind of in dodgy. Like, well, he seems like he's a bit of a not a deviant, but a bit of a So his reputation for me is like, well, it's about the same as it was before I knew that. But...
Oh no, that's gee, I can't remember how we got onto that. Let's talk about these deviants.
Yes.
So the other boys arrive to squash the beef, and it's gone from like playful to quite serious, hasn't it? And Mark can't be having that among family.
Yeah, he does have a vibe. Because you see, he's out there rehydrating, obviously after kicking all this ass in the streets. So he's got to, like, get, probably down a Gatorade or whatever, and wanders in. And as he's walking towards them, he does have a vibe of, like, am I going to have to step in? Like,
am I going to have to smack a bitch?
Yeah, am I going to have to crack some skulls? Like, and even then when he goes over, because Jim's not the aggressor. It's John, but he goes over and he, like, grabs Jim's arm as if, like... I'll snap this if I have to.
It's like a quiet intimidation.
Yeah, the guy didn't start this, but I will end it. I can't be having my Orphan cult here swinging out wildly without my say so.
But again, as you say, he should be going to John. Like, what are you doing? Leave him alone. He's just got a letter. Let it lie.
Yeah, mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, it seems to me like these guys must never get any post. Like the revival of a letter is such a like, what? You got a letter? Wow.
Well, in contrast to us talking about the text tones and things, it's the opposite. Like that's very modern. Not getting letters.
As if like someday, like when they get the new yellow pages or something, it's like, oh my god. Jim, you got the new yellow pages. Like, oh, can I see it? Oh, take it. Give me the yellow pages.
A few months ago in the post, I got a phone book. And I'm like, why are you sending me this? What's the point?
Hey, you never know, John. It's just like when the day you need that phone book and it's not there, that's going to be the day you're like, well, why the hell didn't I get a phone book?
That's
like,
true.
what's... Yeah. You never. There could be any scenario where your internet goes down and then all the data goes down somehow simultaneously as well.
Or you can't really use your internet because there's a crazy lag.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes, people.
Yeah. But yeah, I do love though, because Mark, he's gonna all business. He's still in his tank top and all this business. And then the other two walk in. And it's just weird because, there was made apparent that, like, oh, Jim's going to take the shower first. But then they're like, oh, we're ready to go. Like, it was like pre-shower prep.
Jim didn't say, don't join me.
Yeah, but that's the truth. I'm thinking, I was like, well, he warms up the soap, I guess, when we get in there.
It saves water.
Well, have you ever? Like, I've known people to shower together too in the past, but I've never partaken myself because I think it's more of like a inner sanctum sanctorum. I was like, oh, come on, man, it's like a meditative space.
No, I've only ever done it twice. And it was purely, this is TMI, purely like an erotic thing. But it wasn't erotic.
Oh.
It's not nice. It's awkward and weird. And it's like, okay. It's fine.
Yeah.
So I don't recommend it. Don't bother.
Yeah, I always remember one of my, although obviously, again, maybe it's a difference between men and women, is that, like, I don't think, well, I suppose guys they would shower together in, like, post-sports settings and stuff.
Yeah.
But like I think the kind of things like I'm not a jock. I'm not that kind of guy.
What?
So I'm like, well, imagine you keep to yourselves in there, right? And it's like, no, it could be that's where the towel snapping and all that business comes into play. But I remember, one of a woman I know one time mentioning that like she had a friend that she used to go out swimming with, and then the friend would they go in the showers later, and the friend would like wash her hair. But her hair was really, really curly, so she had problems getting the shampoo out. And she was like, I'd always invite her into my cubicle, and we'd go through her hair together. And I was like, that's so... like, I would never do that with, like, anybody unless I was, like, in a sexual relationship with them.
That's very intimate.
Yeah, that's too much. It's too much. It's like, that's barriers I would not be willing to cross right there. But
as usual on this show, we're not shaming anyone. If you like doing that, that's fine. But for me, and obviously for you now... No. Although, to be fair, Angelo's got a pretty curly mullet there, so, That's what it is.
It could be he's just like, well, Jim's going in there. He's like, I'm going to be in there, Angelo, when you want to come in and soap up that hair, and we'll get through this together.
You know what? Unless it's a sexy thing, I reckon they were all thinking, I'm going to get in there first, but he called it before any of them else could, they could, like, oh, God damn it!
And Mark's just so zen. He's like, I'll wait. Yeah. He seems the type too. He'd be like cold showers. It doesn't even matter. The hot water runs out. He's like, I prefer them cold.
It helps him get into the right kind of headspace.
Should note also as well, I consulted my like sort of go-to Asian translator from Akira Minutes, Jack Stovall. Because like I've been in the past when we've come across Asian writing, he knows multiple Asian languages, so I'm always able to go to him like, what does this say?
Yeah.
And I want to get a translation for John's shirt, because I can see now like, you can take a screenshot of that, it looks clear enough.
Yeah.
I sent it to him. I was like, so what does this mean? And he's like, that's English. Like, that's just English letters.
It's just in like a weird font.
Yeah, it's stylized to look like it's like Chinese characters, but like it just says Kokai. And I was like, oh. And then I looked up Kokai, and it's like, sure enough, it was back in the 80s. And apparently still today, it's known to be like a haute couture line for women.
Right. I've just looked it up, and you know what? Now that I've seen it written down like this, I've seen this in the wild.
Apparently, it still is like it's a reputable brand and stuff. I don't know if they were expanding out into like ninja tank tops back in the 80s or what's happening there, but I like to think that it's you always get the old classic of people in a relationship with each other, like you always get the woman coming out in the big oversized man's shirt, and she's like, stolen his shirt to wear. I like to think it's just this has happened. It's just that John has stolen Jane's top, and he's just like, this fits me entirely too well, quite frankly,
like a glove.
Yeah, so he's just like, all right, I'm taking it. And that's why Jeff is also like, he looks like the type of guy who'll steal your top, Jeff. I bought you that beautiful Kokai top way back when. Whatever happened to it? Whatever happened to it?
It is nice. I really like the shirt, to be honest. It's got a kind of, I think we might have talked about this before. It's got like a, what's that artist's name? It's like Mondrian kind of thing in the corner. It's also got a kind of Soviet color scheme, which is interesting.
I think we did talk about it before. I wasn't too sure when I was making the note, but like I do remember thinking that this top was very kind of Kraftwerk-esque.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't be surprised if this was like the second Dragon Sound album was going to be like a stripped back synth based minimalist treatise on how dehumanized we've all become.
Oh, and we're still waiting for this to drop. Come on.
Oh, that would be a drastic left turn for the band. It's just like, well, we've talked about, the warmth of humanity in Friends so much. And it's like, but then what would happen if Friends was, nothing but a concept and we were all just sort of binary coded kind of personalities and, things.
Oh my God. I'm on board with this.
That's what they're like, because this is the way Angelo wants to go with things, and that's why they're like, get him in the shower. We can talk to him there about like why this mightn't be the best idea for the band.
It's like, I'm taking Taekwondo rock to strange new places. But you may, as you brought up actually, and people watching may have noticed, 3 guys topless, 1 with a towel. So,
I thought, is it not 2? There's 2 with a towel.
There's 2 with a towel. Why am I saying 1? There are 2. We've got a yellow towel and like a reddy pink towel.
Yeah. Oh, it was once a mighty red towel that has been worn into nothing.
That's realistic, though.
Yeah.
But that means 5 drinks.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to take 1 big one. Again, as usual, feel free to do what you want, people.
It's a guaranteeing you. Angelo's mom bought him that towel in like when he went off to university in 1972.
He's still using it.
It's like, well, it still dries, isn't it?
Hey, to be honest, in some ways I'm like that. I'm still using some of the things I've had for fucking ages. The only time I won't is underwear and socks. Do replace those, people.
Well, no, things like towels too. It's just like, well, there's other things I could be buying, things I would enjoy more than a towel.
Yeah,
because I've already got a towel. Like, why would I buy another one?
And okay, it might not be as soft anymore, but if it still dries you, it's good enough.
Although then, when you do get a new one, it's like, oh baby, it's like I should do this more often, I guess.
I've been missing out.
Yeah. Should also call just not a party foul, but just housemate foul, and then 2 of them do it though. John is in there, friggin' sneaker up on the table.
Oh, you know what? I didn't even think about that, but that it would annoy me. Yeah. Oh
no, this is some bullcrap, man. I ain't getting behind this. This is, although, the more we look at Dragon Sound, the more they seem sort of. Maybe they're not the angels we previously thought, But then we bypassed the deleted scene, because I think we would be past that point in the movie now, where there's like one really notable deleted scene in Miami Connection,
yes,
where they go to the music store, and I think that's like, if people don't know, you can just YouTube it. It's there, and it's about as good as the rest of the movie. But it features Dragon Sound. I'm pretty sure it's straight after they they break up the fight between Jeff and John. They decide to go to the music shop, and then the people in the music shop are like, "Oh my god, these assholes! They keep coming in and not buying anything, and they never buy anything." And people, obviously, because it's Miami Connection, they're repeating the same dialogue over and over and over again because it's kind of semi-improv and stuff. And so the Dragon Sound all come in, and they just pick up a load of instruments, notably a bunch of electric guitars that aren't plugged in, and then start playing them, and the guitars start playing as if they're friggin' plugged in. It's just like classic Miami Connection, I guess. But they're just causing an absolute riot in the store, and the guy gets so angry, he goes over and he's just like, "You guys, that's it, get out! Get the hell out of my store! Get out! Get out! Get out!" And it seems as like he says like they're playing with $3,000 worth of equipment, and they never buy anything. And hearing information like that, it's like, I don't know if they cut that because they're like, well, this kind of makes, and we wrote that to be like the harmless monkey shines of Dragon Sound. It kind of makes them come across like juvenile delinquents, though, where this guy's just like, "Get the hell out of my store, you goddamn assholes."
Well, I mean, it reminded me of on the Patreon episodes I do about Rent. There's a great bit in that where they go to a cafe, and this guy won't let them in at first. He's like, no. He's like, you always come here, and you never buy anything. So they're going and sitting in this cafe and not spending anything. And one of them's like, no, what are you talking about? Last week I bought a tea. And then he's like, you left without paying. Oh, yeah. But I've known people like that. You know, like you just all loosey-goosey, do what you want. And they don't realize they're doing it.
Yeah, I think that's a very American, like, lower level LA kind of vibe. Like, I remember hearing about, like, I think Quentin Tarantino back in the day, like him and his friends would be like, once they got off the video store, they'd go to like a 24-hour diner and just buy a single cup of coffee because you get it refilled. And then they would just sit there for like hours with the one cup of coffee. And it's like, that's all well good for when you're penniless and what, but the people there are going to be like, you're taking up a booth, guys. You know, we've got actual customers coming in here.
And let me tell you, I'm not saying that we're better for this. In fact, in a lot of ways, this is worse. But over here, you ain't getting a refill.
No refills. Get the hell out.
No refills on anything ever.
Yeah. Although this again, all tracks now. Remember, fucking Dragon Sound. They were in the Chinese restaurant, just getting free food, giving out to the guy for not getting it fast enough to them. So they're you know. I'm thinking maybe friggin' Jeff is completely correct to try to drive these assholes out of town, quite frankly.
They're bums! Bums, I tell you.
Yeah. Yeah, they took the decent music for grown-ups in the nightclub. Gone. You can't get a booth in a Chinese restaurant because these people, you can't go in to look at the latest flying V model because it's getting played by that freaking asshole Angelo and he's got too much shampoo stuck in his hair because he didn't check it in the shower.
That should have all been in the movie. Like, that guy wants to go and check out the new guitar that's dropped and it's like, oh, sorry, this guy's playing it. Oh, for God's sake, it's like Dragon Sound, piece of shit.
Should have went through the gang who was going after them there actually in the previous fight to see if the music store owner was like, oh, Dragon Sound, yeah, I know those guys.
Oh, now, speaking of guitars, I thought, maybe it's just me not being a musician, but I know a lot of musicians. This is a very interesting way in this scene to store guitars, right?
Yes.
Like standing up on a coffee table? It
feels as if, like, again, I'm almost certain this is Angelo's actual apartment. And his house is coming down with musical instruments. So there's guitar cases lying around, but they've probably got guitars in them.
Yeah.
So this is like the best places. Like, well, you can't, I know from my dad being a musician, you can't put a guitar near a radiator.
No.
Because apparently it warps the wood in the neck.
And you shouldn't really lie it down for too long, should you?
Yeah. And so I guess his thing is like, well, you know, where's an optimal place to put it where I know it's going to be safe from that kind of thing? It's like on top of this coffee table, I guess.
I do like the little racks they're on. Like, they're pretty cool. I get them. On the table is odd. Newspapers down underneath them is also odd. It kind of looks to me like he's been spray painting them.
It probably is. Probably is trying to get like a sweet dragon down the back. Or
maybe.
I know, like...
I don't know, because the strings are still on. You'd think if you're painting them, you'd want to take the strings off.
Well, that might be just at the back. Maybe he's just like, goes down the back, you got like a foot grasping a nose or something.
Hell yeah.
It does have a kind of slightly like experimental kind of vibe to it. It's like, is he trying to combine these two guitars? Like he's going to fuse them together or something? Like what's...
Like a double-necked thing. Well, you know, as the website Hard Drive say, you know, people playing double-necked guitars are just compensating for only having one penis.
True.
Yeah. There's no need. There's not. There is a sign in the background that I was very interested in. It's for Michelob.
Yeah.
Now, Michelob, I mostly know of it through movies because it was never really a big drink over here. But in the US, wowza.
I think you can get it here, but I'm pretty sure the ship and miter has it. I'm fairly certain I've had a guy would say Michelob, but I guess that's not the correct pronunciation.
That's what I said, Michelob.
I think you said, I thought you said Michelob for a second.
Americans do say Michelob, I think.
Oh.
But again, I'm getting this from movies. Correct us if we're wrong here. It's not a big drink over here, okay? It might be lovely, I don't know. It's regarded as quite nice. I looked into it. It's apparently it is a 4.7% pale lager, developed by Adolphus Busch in 1896 as a draft beer for connoisseurs.
It's a bit like the old the boast of the Coors. Well, not the Coors Light at that point, but just Coors Banquet.
Yeah,
You know, we talked about that a couple of weeks ago, where they're like, "Oh yes, this is for the beer drinkers. Beer is this like unfiltered, unpasteurized, beautiful, and direct competition. That's why the guys hate them. It's like, oh, they look like friggin' Michelob drinkers. These assholes. Get this Coors into your mullet."
Imagine that. They beat them up and pour Coors down their throat like, drink it.
It's like, no, it's not pasteurized, drink it.
And then you get, what's his face from Blue Velvet come in just to start a riot. What does he drink? Heineken?
Well, the thing is, again, Kyle MacLachlan drinks Heineken.
Oh, that's
and then,
it.
And Dennis Hopper is just like, what do you want to drink? Like, Heineken. Fuck that shit. Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Pabst, that's his. Pabst. I thought it was the other way around. Yeah.
Yeah. So much beer product placement in that. But I guess in this movie, too. But, like, that one's properly, like... I just always remember the thing, too, of, like... Because he mentions it several times, Kyle MacLachlan. He's like, Heineken. I love Heineken. You like Heineken? And, like, Laura Dern's like, oh, my dad drinks Bud. Oh, the king of beers. It's like... Lynch is just like, well, you know, after that Dune movie didn't do so well, I gotta take the money where I can get it. So, beer product placement it is. I don't care if it's cross-pollination with Heineken and Bud and Pabst Blue Ribbon. Get them all in. Flow in through the doors, guys.
Hey, you know, do it. But, you know, if I'm being forced to pick a beer out of them, well, I'm certainly not picking Bud. And I don't mind Bud. It's fine. It's okay. But Heineken's better. Coors is better.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Pabst is better.
I know I got some Coors just today for the weekend, because there's supposed to be a party happening on Friday night that we're supposed to be going to, although there's been no mention of it in quite a while.
Yeah. And if I go, I can only go for like 2, because I've got to be up for the gig.
Yeah. But I got I just saw in our local Asda, our local shopping mart, for the American listeners out there. But yeah, 15 Coors for 10 quid.
Oh, that's a good deal.
Yeah, and I was actually, even though I complained about it when I saw it in the show, it was kind of like, you know, I saw drinking that recently. Natasha Lyonne in Poker Face. I'm in the mood for a Coors now that I've seen her drinking one.
I like a fancy beer. You know me, the pub down the road, the Black Cat, loads of fancy beers. But Coors, good party beer. I think I brought that up last time we talked about beers. It's a nice beer to get just in a box. You're going to be, you know, drinking at a party. You're not going to get drunk after 3 bottles, you know. Yeah. Although I also know in that show she drinks Coors and then Heineken sneaks in again. Heineken's just like, we'll go. We don't mind your sloppy seconds. If you've already got a product placement in, we'll come in there too. We don't have to be the focus beer. We'll just be in the background. But their sneaky thing is that their cans are so distinctive looking. Yeah. Like as soon as you see a glint of green, you're like, it's Heineken. I suppose there is a Carl's. Is it Carlsberg? Carling is green as well, isn't it? Carlsberg. I had it right the first way round, didn't I? God damn it.
Carlsberg that's true. Yeah, that is true.
But I always think of Heineken as well. I'm saying.
Yeah, I think Carlsberg is that's very European as well, isn't it? I don't think they flogged that to Americans.
Oh, we're posh over here. I say that it's not a fancy beer at all.
Oh no, it's one of the most despised. It's one of their logo is probably the best lager in the world, and it's one of the most despised beers I've come across because the alcohol percentage is so small in it that people are like, I'm not drinking that. It's crazy, it's a waste of money.
Again, though, I think it serves okay as like a party beer. You know, I wouldn't have it like at the pub, but if I'm having an all night kind of party, I might have a box of that. You know.
Yeah. It was also one of the spokespersons for them for the longest time was Mads Mikkelsen, too. He used to be in all the adverts for it.
The king.
But then you look at it and you're like, Hannibal, Mads Mikkelsen might drink Carlsberg. Hannibal Lecter didn't drink Carlsberg. No. He would be caught dead with a Carlsberg.
That would be like his nightmare.
Yeah. He's like, I would not to touch any beer that comes in a box, Will.
No, he's got to make it to your own palate.
Yeah. Or is it like it has to be from fresh from the mountain stream where the water was collected and in a glass blown from the very sand of the beach near where that water was.
Yeah,
all this kind of crap.
And it's beautiful. It's beautiful, I'm sure. But Michelob, I'm not pronouncing it the other way. It was, like you said with the other one, it was unpasteurized until 1961.
Oh.
They made a pasteurized version, so that allowed them to ship it across state lines. And then they started, they bottled it. Then they introduced cans in '66. I've got the whole history of this thing right here.
Yeah.
But it was originally sold in a uniquely shaped bottle named the Teardrop because it resembled a water droplet. I think that sounds fucking cool. It even won an award from the Institute of Design. But then 5 years later, they changed the bottle. It's like, because it was more efficient and cheap to just use like a normal bottle. Like, that was your unique thing.
Yeah. I mean, that was a big selling point for Tuborg over here. It's like, it's got the pop-off kind of resealable bottle top. So and then they got rid of that. And you're like, I'm not going to buy it now. Like,
that was part of the
It
appeal.
was just a sort of okay beer. Yeah, like it was a standard beer that had this one thing about it that made it cool. And I was like, well, he took that away. So I'm but yeah, I can't imagine though any ultra competitive, capitalist market is just like, well, we need to save money somehow, and these custom bottles we've got going on here, we're gonna have to cut them back because that's the one thing we can, make more efficient and stuff. But
it's a difficult decision that though, because also drawing people to your product is that distinctive bottle.
Yeah.
So
I thought I was listening to a thing because I've been rewatching the Star Trek movies and listening to a podcast that is also going through the Star Trek movies, in tandem. And those actually just watched The Voyage Home the other day, and of course in that at one point Kirk takes out a lady as is his way to lunch. And it's just great because, the whole movie is great, but it just has this thing of like, well, how are we going to get her to go along with our plan, Captain? And he's just like, leave it to me. It's like, do you like lunch? He's like, he's going to work the old Kirk magic on her. She's like 25 and he's 64 or something.
Doesn't stop him, baby. He's a regular Leo DiCaprio.
Yeah. And I thought, well, one thing, because they both get beers, and they're Michelobs. And I was a bit weirded out because they're having like Italian, and it's like, Italian meals come with wine. That's I'm sure you can drink a beer with it, but I don't think like a beer with like pasta to me would be strange. It's like, well, it's a wine based kind of food.
I've had a beer with pasta, I think. But normally, if I'm having Italian though, if I'm having a beer, it tends to be with like pizza or something, because we get nice Italian beers here now. Menabrea is Italian, isn't it? That's a nice one. And I remember we were talking to our friend Fabio about Italian beers, and I was like, well, I like Peroni, and I like Moretti. And he's like, oh, Moretti that's the proper one. He's like, that's the beer of like the working man. That's the real thing. That's what a builder on his break will have, a Moretti. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Now I like Moretti more.
Yeah. Although that's weird, though, because Moretti, then they'll charge you more over here for it than in Italy. It's like, oh, yeah, you buy it for like 50p.
It's all marketing.
Yeah, no, totally. It's just like, well, we got to sucker people into this somehow.
You know what? Don't blame them. Make your money where you can. We all live in a shit society of capitalist hell, so you might as well fucking use it.
Well, that's what I was going to say about, like, in that Star Trek scene, then, was like, because Kirk sips the beer, and he has it kind of like, ooh, like, it's like, I've not tasted something like this before. And, like, thinking about, like, in the Star Trek future, they've got food replicators that basically have solved world hunger, and things like that have gone into like, well, you don't ever need, capitalism doesn't work anymore because you don't need money because we just have bountiful everything. We're doing great. And then going down the line from that, then you are kind of like, okay, so you get rid of capitalism. Does eventually, like hundreds of years in the future, it's like, well, it doesn't need to be different brands of things. Yeah. Because you won't need to have a competitive edge to make your thing different from something else to be like, well, this is, you come buy Earth. Like, it's got this kind of element to it and stuff. So I was just kind of wondering, like, Kirk's, like, he's obviously never had a Michelob. Has he kind of been like, ooh, this isn't generic brand beer that we have in the future. This is a thing that has something different about it because it needed that capitalist edge. Or would Star Trek have like, oh no, we've stored all the flavors of everything?
I think they would do that, yeah.
Yeah, because I guess, Picard is coming in with like Earl Grey hot. Because he's just like, well, I could have just generic tea, I guess. But like, I want a distinctive thing from, this kind of deal. So, but no, it caught my attention. It's been like, oh, it's a little weird move there. Kirk just like, oh, this is because Shatner would have thought about it too, because he's been with the character like 30 years at that point, so he's probably like, well, he would have to think about, this is odd. I've never had a Michelob before.
On one hand, I would say, as a socialist, I would say, well, it actually leads to people doing things out of love and passion. That's the point, rather than profit motive. But Star Trek is very, weirdly sterile. There's not a lot of love and passion in Star Trek outside of the occasional characters there. More so with the originals, but...
Yeah. I think it's always that anytime they have anything, it's always an imported... Like, I've got you this, Klingon whiskey, or like a bottle of Romulan wine, and it's forbidden. It's like, but it's got this very distinctive flavor. It's always like stuff from imported outside the Federation. It seems to be like, ooh, I've got this. So you got stuff inside the Federation. It's always like, well, you can have that. It's just there for you if you want. So,
but that's boring.
Yeah. It has got that little edge that, and maybe Kirk is going like, well, this beer tastes like it's only just been pasteurized in the last 20 years or something.
Well, speaking of edge, right, I'm going to read a very interestingly written article here. I'm going to read the whole thing. It's a little bit long, but I think it's good. It's from Deadspin, which used to be a very popular website, but isn't. Yeah, not so much these days. But that sounded like I was dissing them. Sorry. Now they talk about the origins of Michelob. How it was it established a niche as an upper middle brow version of a Budweiser Miller Coors, that kind of thing. But then it says, Michelob used to be a reasonable alternative to the shitty imports favoured by the semi-swells of the last generation to come of drinking age before the craft beer renaissance. This was the tail end of the Cold War, when it didn't necessarily seem foolhardy or jingoistic to make a point of driving an American car or drinking an American beer. Opting for Michelob allowed the status-conscious drinker to signal that while he was no commie, he also wasn't just some Schlitz slob either. And this wasn't all merely posturing. Michelob had some flavour along with the fizz, and a certain enlightened sort didn't mind paying a small premium for it. That was amazing already. It goes on as well. It says, but now there are just too many better options. See, look, negative. For the cares about taste crowd. And better marketed and or lower calorie new versions of the same old swill for everyone else. So then they bring out a new drink then, Michelob Ultra. It says, Michelob Ultra, a truly terrible beer, unworthy of its 95 calories per serving, is the 8th most popular beer in America. Which is fairly impressive until you consider that it trails 5 other light beers, including the natural and bush versions. Ultra quite likely represents Michelob's last trashy gasp. This is the best written article I've honestly ever seen. But somehow the original Michelob lager is it's still quite popular, but it's not in the top sellers. But they say in this article, the original one, not the Ultra, they say it's better than almost every beer in the top 20 sellers in America.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they're like, why don't people buy this one?
Well, as I say, I'm pretty sure the Ship of Mitre sells Michelob. So the next time I'm in town, I'll have to go in to verify. Maybe we can go in then later to be like, well, we're going to see how good this Michelob is. Because clearly, Angelo is quite a fan. Imagine him reading that article and being like, what the hell?
Well, it's bigging up the original one, and that looks like an old-fashioned kind of sign for the original one, right?
That one, that really has the vibe of like either he worked in a bar previously and he stole that. Or this is one like, oh, you buy like 5 crates and you get a free Michelob sign or something.
It's a weird thing to just put up in your... Again, that makes them feel like students, though. Like, oh, yeah, beer, man.
Oh, totally. And it doesn't... But the thing is, the rest of them, the swill drinkers, as they are, they get that back. Because then, but it's not enough to have one. There's also then a sliding doors-esque Miller's poster right next to it as well.
That's just very kind of early 20s, isn't it? Like, oh, I just like to get fucked up at the weekend.
Oh, man. Totally, yeah. This kind of thing. Like, I think even in my early 20s, I would have put my nose up back because it's just like it's so stereotypical. I wouldn't be, I would be caught dead doing this. But
like, loads of people had a Jack Daniels poster. It's like, oh,
yeah. So like, I would talk the talk in terms of I would do the drinking, but I wouldn't be like, brag about it. You don't have to have the posters up. Like, just do the thing. Like,
yeah, it's an odd one. Unless it's like a really cool artistic, like I've seen some cool Japanese adverts for drinks because, they go overboard with everything. But just a generic Michelob sign that he's nicked off a pub.
Yeah. I think it's too, that like Mark's just like biding his time of like, well, I don't approve of this.
Well, as we've speculated, Mark don't drink.
Yeah. Maybe the occasional like Asahi or something, like, after a long, hard day of grabbing noses with toes or whatever. But like, just in general, I was like, a sake will do him. But that's, I don't imagine he indulges, nor does he approve of what these posters represent.
I have had a Korean beer, actually. What was it called? I'm trying to remember how you pronounce it. I'm terrible with pronunciation. It's like Hite. I don't know if it's like Hite or Hite or something. Hite Jinro is the company, and I'm not pronouncing it right, but that I had the basic lager in town. Down the hatch, the vegan restaurant had Korean beer, and I was like, I've got to get that.
Yeah.
It was very nice.
Well,
but
it's just the way that you kind of left it as is like, oh, there was no more story to that.
No. But I want to try the Michelob. Maybe not the Ultra, but even it all sounds preferable to Bud Light, which isn't saying much.
Yeah,
because Bud Light is officially the worst thing ever created by humanity.
I think it's too like just the putting the name Ultra on it now. It's not good, like because Ultra, like it makes you think of like MK Ultra. Like it doesn't sound like, oh yeah, that's a thing I want to sign up for. It's just like that sounds like sort of shady dealings are happening here. All right, it's like if I take this Michelob, what's going to happen to me?
I didn't even think about that. Holy shit, we've uncovered the truth. You've cracked it, Niall. Michelob Ultra. It's working with the CIA, FBI. I don't remember which one did. Fucking MK Ultra. One of them.
It's partially got like, some of the stuff didn't work so well with the brainwashing, but we have put slight elements of it into Michelob now to make it taste even worse than it previously was.
Some people would argue alcohol is a brainwashing tactic for the working class. Well, but anyway, I love the line because all this arguing going on, and then we get, "What are you trying to do? Wake up the neighbors?"
I mean, it's the obvious generic line to say.
Well, it is, because then 2 seconds later, someone else goes, "You trying to wake up the neighbors?" It's like they couldn't think of any other lines. Just like, I don't know, just that's what you say. So there's one line I couldn't make out. Could you make this out, right? It's after the first, "Are you trying to wake up the neighbors?" He says something about a street fight?
I think he said like, I heard that you haven't had enough action for one night. I think it was what I got.
Oh.
Yeah. And then...
oh, no, that's after the second Neighbours
line.
Yeah,
okay.
That's "you haven't seen enough action for one night." There's another bit where he's talking about the street fight, and I'm just like, I can't understand a word you're saying.
Well, I think this is part of my job is to do transcription of meetings. And when it's more than like 2 people involved, people keep talking over each other and stuff. And I think in my off time, I was like, if it's cross talk at all, I'm not going near that. because that's a goddamn nightmare to deal with. So I think I'll probably block that part of the minute out of my mind, quite frankly.
Hey, maybe there's a audio delay. Maybe it's all on Zoom. It can't be helped, the crosstalk.
No.
But no, I mean, that second wake up the neighbors thing as well. I'm just like, look, nobody's responded the first time because it was a dumb comment. You know, don't try and make this a thing. It ain't no fetch.
Well, I think it's because the whole thing is obviously they've just been like, oh, just come out and just, be like, hey, what's happening, guys? Hey, keep it down out here. What are you fighting? And then they're just like, okay, well, we're not very good actors, so and we're hardly screenwriters. So like, this is what we got,
Yeah. I mean, they're doing better than probably I could, but even so,
Yeah.
Then it's that line you said, you haven't seen enough action for one night.
Yeah.
I mean, the street fight really did mess with them, didn't it? I don't blame them for still thinking about it, but...
Well, did you say that? Did it? Like, they don't...
Well, I think psychologically, deep down, because they're not really talking about it until they have to talk about it.
They're waiting to get into the shower to be like, okay, that's where we share our deepest, darkest secrets. Once we're in there, cleaning out Angela's mullet. So, yeah, let's just... we'll not say anything. And then Mark's just like, just leave me with it, guys. Like, I'll come into the shower on my own time, all right?
Exactly. See? I think it's rocked them more than they're letting on.
Oh, did you hear what I thought was a weird comment where after you haven't seen enough action for one night, you hear a whole bunch of crosstalk, blah, 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 blah. Like, someone says, like, oh, you can never have enough. As if they're like, was it, are they bloodthirsty maniacs or something? It's like Jim's out there like, oh yeah, he's just starting to fight now because he just can't get enough of kicking the crap out of people, I guess.
That's the thing, he's seeing red. He can't stop. He's like a bull.
Yeah. This is like, that's the one thing we have to try to keep everything as serene and calm around here as possible because of Jim. If something sets him off, you hear the wah of rage, and that's...
Once Jim gets going, he's an unstoppable killing machine.
He's like a bull to a yellow towel. Like, he just comes right at it.
Well, that's a good point, actually. The other guy's got a red towel, so maybe that's agitating him. And John has a red shirt on.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah. Again, that towel was definitely the same color as that shirt. Back in its original life cycle 2 decades prior.
I like that we also get John apologizing finally as well, because I'm just sitting here going, yeah, good, you apologize, you jerk.
See, now, what I don't like about this is it feels insincere to me.
Oh, it's totally insincere.
Yeah, this is one of those things like, are you sorry, or are you sorry you got caught? Because it's like, well, they're coming out now, and they're like, well, you've made this into a whole big thing. You've caused some serious damage here, John. This is like, okay, I better apologize. Like, he's not actually sorry for doing it. He's just more like, well, save face in front of the guys, make me look like the bigger man. I'll say sorry and stuff. It's like, I don't think he is. I think like next letter shows up. He's like, that's why freaking Jim's camped out by the freaking mailbox next time because he's not risking it.
And I think he's a bit worried as well that Mark kind of stepped in because on one hand, as you said, it's a little bit. Like, oh, you don't want to upset Mark. That's a bit scary. But then also, Mark, whether it's fake or not, he's kind of showing concern. He's very concerned with what's going on. It's like to a troubling degree. Why is he so concerned that some guys are arguing? Just leave him to it. But he's like, oh, no. He's coming over being really gentle and emotional, which, I think, well, he's a tender lover, I'm sure.
Oh, totally. Yeah. I'm sure YK's been in the same marriage for 40 plus years. You don't leave a YK once you've bagged him. So
YK is A+.
Yeah. YK for life. K.
Oh, but you get Mark being very cute, I thought, as well. Like, it depends how you want to take it. Is it passive aggressive or is it genuine concern? It could be either, and I like that we don't know.
No, I think he is. He's just like, I'm getting the bottom of this because like I can't have dissidents in the ranks.
You've all got to be on the same page.
It's like I'm building a taekwondo army / ninja rock band. I need these guys to be in perfect synergy.
I mean, that's what we all dream of doing.
Of course, we do know that friendship is the highest priority of Dragon's Hound, so it makes sense that they would be like, "Well, we can't perform Friends if we're not friends. It wouldn't be true to the song." So,
but Jim he reads the letter while everybody's like gabbing in the background, and he very quickly doesn't seem happy, does he? He screws it up, he tosses it to the ground. But then
there was something about that the sound of that, because it sounds like really cheap paper.
Yeah.
And it was like the sound of it crumpling, like gave me shivers down my spine. It was like nails on a chalkboard. There was something about that kind of. I get that too. As people rub cotton sometimes, the sound of that goes like, ugh, like and him crumpling up that paper, just whatever the texture of that 1980s paper was, and it gave me a real like, yeesh. I didn't like it. I didn't care for it at all.
That really got to you, didn't it? Jesus Christ, I didn't notice. I'm gonna have to listen back to it.
I was even thinking about it now. I'm getting proper like goosebumps thinking about it. Like, ooh. At least it's not. Although at the same time, I'm like, these guys. Friggin' John was jumping up on the sofa previous minute. He's put his foot on the table. Mark's got his foot on the table too. Like it's just anarchy there. And then friggin' Jim's just littering. Just throwing red mouth paper. Throw it in the ground. Crumple it up and throw it on the ground. Who's gonna pick that up? Probably, I don't know, Angelo or Jack in 6 months' time, you know? Because for that, when does the... Although... I do wonder if they have a cleaning regimen around the Dragon Sound house.
Oh, Mark will have made a rota.
Yeah, he seems like he'll be the one to have to step up to do this. And it's like, well, this is, and he'll have to like blag it has been part of like the training as well, probably.
Yeah, you don't understand this. This is it's like wax on, wax off. Yeah, it's all part of the training.
Exactly. He was sitting in his nightmare with the guys originally, and he sat down to watch the Karate Kid, and he's like, wait a minute, oh, I got it.
Genius.
You guys ever heard of pick paper up?
It's a very popular technique back in Korea.
Yeah.
But these guys, I know they're concerned, but they're a bit too insistent that Jim explains what's going on. It's very forceful. Yeah. It's like, Jim will tell you in his own time, I'm sure. You do not need to pressure him, and to keep going on about it. Say that you're there for him and leave it at that.
This whole thing really came across like, well, obviously Dragon Sound are guys in their late 20s, except for Mark. But they always play, so I guess they're playing like they're playing college age or whatever, I guess.
Yeah.
Or maybe early 20s at the most, maybe like post-grads or something. But this really struck me as being like watching a bunch of proper children. Like, I'm talking like 6 or 7 years old.
Oh, whoa.
Because just the way that like Jim is standing, and then just the kind of like, Mark having to be the teacher coming like, okay, so just tell us what happens, tell us what really having a kind of, it really has this vibe of this like, no, you can tell us, and then Jim's standing with the eyes down. It was like,
oh. Well, he even says, come on, we're your best friends. Yeah, and that didn't come across too genuine. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I'm thinking. I don't know if we've actually heard Angelo's speaking voice before. Because I'm thinking that was him, right?
Yeah.
And it's just he's like a real southern twang. It was like we're your best friends. I was like, is that the way he talks?
I don't know. Like stumbling in the middle of that sentence makes me think you're just saying that. You don't mean that. Because he says it twice. He goes, "Come on, we're your best friends."
Maybe he's thinking that he's about to say we are Orphans. Like, no, that's Mark's line. Sorry.
Yeah, he thought he would reference one of the songs. We are best friends.
Well, I have to say too. Maybe we'll leave it for the beach scene, because I was just saying like the lighting in this for all these guys with the shirts off, the lighting doesn't do them a lot of favors. They're very pasty men, I have to say, but
realistic again.
Yeah, we're imminently approaching the beach scene, so like we'll save that talk for then, maybe.
And we get Jim opens up his wallet, as the music comes in, and seemingly Angelo Badalamenti commandeers the score. It's beautiful.
Someone's bound to have done the Laura Palmer theme to this, right? Like we've done a bunch of. If not, then we have to get on it straight away because it's imperative to put it in there.
Oh, we're going to become YouTube sensations if we do that. I genuinely think we should do it. I think I've got the tech to remove the music and replace it.
Oh yeah, I think we should definitely get on that. See what happens.
Well, listeners, if you want that, let us know. If you don't want that, don't let us know. But we're going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
So fuck you.
I was looking to think though that it was like while everyone's up, we are just waking the neighbors willy nilly. That was actually Jane in the next room because she's auditioning to be the church organist. So she's like, I might as well get in some practice while I'm here.
Oh, we get one of my favourite bits as well next, where they say to him, where is it? Mark says, wow, because he pulls out a picture, and Mark says to him, "Wow, I didn't know you had a brother." And I'm just sitting here thinking, yeah, it's going to be even more perplexing when we actually meet this guy in the picture later.
Well, to be fair, we'll never meet that guy in the picture show.
Exactly.
The thing is, too, knowing that was happening later, go back and edit out this shot with the picture in it, so it's not so freaking egregious.
And especially edit out the line that they look identical. Fuck's sake, there's a reason they look. Oh, Jesus.
Again, though, also, although it could be true to Mark's character, because he's like, it looks like your brother. I didn't know you had a brother. It's like, the guy in the picture is clearly 45, man. Like, he's way, way older. But then Mark is like, well, I'm 45, but I'm hanging out with the cool kids. Look, I could be your brother, right? Like, well, maybe, like,
I'm your real brother now.
Some sort of stepdad. If you wanted to be called instead of stepdad, you want me to call me your brother? Like, I'm sure, maybe.
Yeah, anything you want, no pressure.
Yeah. But the thing is, I went on the hunt to try to find anything about this guy in the picture, and there ain't nothing on him. Like, this feels like they bought a picture frame that had that in it already. It's like, well, this is free to use now, right? It's like, the guy gave up his picture to be in the frame, so rights lapse, I guess.
Maybe that is a thing. It very well could be. We'd need to look into the law on this. I think we should. Yeah.
I was really hoping, though, it'd be a shame if it wasn't, what do you call her, from, because we did that last season on That Minute, where the generic photo they used for Alfred's old flame was the old lady from Titanic when she was young.
Amazing.
It's just her dressed up with like a goatee and stuff. Like, I had a side hustle as just being the photo in movies for a while.
Oh, I'm going to accept that as true. I don't even need to look it up. That's true. I've decided.
Yeah.
But we find out it's not his brother. He says, it's my father. He's found out who his dad is, his biological dad. And you know what? Looking at that photo, assuming that's the person we're going to see later, it's not. He really, I think he looks like Jim.
It's not?
No, I think he looks like Jim. If it's casting, if it's not just a random picture, then I think it's good casting. Because the person who portrays him later absolutely does not work.
Well, the guy that got played, well, we haven't say that for later, but it's a long time away. But like the guy that got played him later looks like the kid who was delivering the paper. It's like, you boy, come here.
We've got some talc we can just put in your hair. It's fine.
Yes, small child, you can lower your voice to pretend to be this guy's dad, right?
So I mean,
they should have just got Jim to play the part. Just put the talc in his there. Be like, yeah, sure, you can play that part too. Why not? You're in a hospital bed. No one's gonna care.
It'd be less distracting in a way. But no, this guy, if he's an actor, and the original plan was to get this guy in, because obviously those scenes we're joking about later are reshoots, then I think it's good casting. If it's just a photo they found, in a way, that's even more impressive. Like, holy fuck, I think it looks like Jim.
I mean, it could be that that's an actual picture of the guy who plays Jim's actual dad. That he just got like, oh, I'll bring in a picture of my dad.
They didn't say that in the commentary track, but you'd think, I don't know, you think they would.
Yeah, so it always really strikes me, like, you always see nowadays, because of the power of Photoshop and stuff, whenever you have, like, recognizable actors, and they're, like, in their houses or whatever in a movie, and they have, like, childhood pictures or whatever, it's very, very clearly, oh, we've taken old pictures of you and these actors who are playing your parents, and then we've taken stills from them from way years ago and spliced them together to make that look like a photo, and you're like, oh, that's actually pretty weirdly impressive, gonna work there, I guess.
Cool, yeah.
But I think the odd time, I guess, really, like, remember the time was it the pilot episode of Boardwalk Empire? You see Steve Buscemi's wife, but it's only in a picture.
Yes.
And it's that lady from Deadwood. And you're just like, oh, is she going to be in the show? Like, no, she's just in that. She just played the wife. Like, well, why would you could have just got anybody to do that? Like, now I'm distracted thinking, like, you have to bring her back at some point. It's like, why else would you cast that part? Like,
I think it's purely just because it's like she's contracted to HBO. So like, you can use this, I guess.
That is the HBO way, sure. Yeah. Just watching The Last of Us going like, I know McNulty from The Wire showed up in this at some point. So I'm going, there's no way you're letting him go.
It's going to happen, baby. So he mentions that it's his father and whatnot. And then it's that amazing line, which gets cut off. But again, I think we should talk about it anyway. I didn't know you had a father. I thought we were all orphans.
Oh, it's the real beauty of it too is that it's clearly ADR. Like they obviously went back and thought like, no, we need to add this in because it wasn't coming across well in the scene or something.
Yeah,
about,
maybe
like,
the test audience, if there was one, were like confused. I thought they were all orphans.
They don't seem to be more baffled by the fact that he's got a brother, but I thought they were orphans.
Now, I genuinely assumed, right, that a dad leaving the family can still then make you an orphan, like if your mum dies. But no, I looked at the actual definition. Those parents gotta both be dead.
Oh, okay.
Dead.
Well, I guess, the deadbeat, not good enough, you know? There's enough deadbeat dads in the world.
Not according to the dictionary. No. Dictionary definition, they've both gotta be dead. If one's alive, you're not an orphan. Orphan. So, that explains why they're kind of shocked. I mean, it's splitting hairs, really, to be honest, because this is a guy who's never met him, you know. So ultimately, he doesn't have a dad, you know. So I don't know why Mark cares so much.
Not to skip ahead too much, but like he doesn't like him because he left. You know, that's the. I didn't like him because he left us.
Oh, that I can't relate to that. I've got my notes already for it. But no, I was surprised by that.
No, my big problem with the line is just the kind of way of saying like, oh, but you have a father, but I thought we were all orphans. And it's like
fuck you.
Everybody had. Well, it's more just like, well, we all have fathers, you know. It's just he didn't materialize, like unless this is some sort of like window into Mark's past. Is like, oh, I'm not, I just materialized from the soil or something. Like I didn't have a father.
No, well, the midi-chlorians were manipulated, to create life.
Yeah. Oh man, that should have been Jim's father. Really was Yoshito manipulating the midi-chlorians from.
Oh god, that'd be the only way to improve this movie. Come on. Oh. Imagine Yoshito is their father of all of them.
Oh, there's a twist. That's it. Oh, okay. I know it's too late to reshoot, but reshoot. Okay.
He was trying to create the perfect ninja.
He thought he cracked it with Jeff, and then that's why he wants to be so close to Jeff. But Jeff, this is like he has an instinct of like, there's something about you, man. I kind of feel repulsed by you. And it's like, it's because he realizes that he's actually his father, who he hates.
My God. And then you can do a sequel. Somehow Yoshito has returned.
Yeah. We know you can get away with it by just hand waving it away. So.
Like, when I watched that in The Rise of Skywalker, I hated it. I did, right? But the longer it goes on, the funnier it gets to the point where I kind of respect the absurdity of going, it doesn't matter.
Well, I blame all the people who were like, when people are going like, well, it never explains Snoke. You should have, we've had a continuity going on here. Now there's this big thing that happened. You've never explained it. And then a lot of people are like, they never explained the Emperor in the original trilogy. Nobody cared, even though it's completely different circumstances.
Completely.
I can go on about that for, as long as you need. But I think JJ is just like, he saw that. He's like, oh, these people will just take anything. So you just go, you never have to explain it. You just be like, oh, somehow. There you go, done.
In a way, it's worse drawing attention to it, though. Just move on. But the fact he has to go, somehow Palpatine is returned. Even the character looks pissed off saying it.
Yeah. And what's his face from Lord of the Rings? Just like, what's this like? Cloning technology, dark Sith magic. Whatever. Something,
Some kind of dark thing, right? Bullshit.
Yeah, just, dark side, whatever.
But this, obviously, all of this, I would say, is some serious family drama.
It is. This is like the ultimate family drama for this movie, really.
I think so. So you know what? Take a swig, yo. That's the end of my Asahi.
Oh, you're on the Asahi, too. We were talking about it earlier as well.
I am indeed. This podcast, is sponsored by Asahi.
If only. I wish we could get some of that sweet, sweet Asahi money.
Asahi Super Dry. For all occasions.
Asahi Ultra.
No, let me tell you about Casper mattresses, though. Blue Apron, has changed my life.
Guys, let me tell you about
Squarespace. Or, you know what? We're open to all these. If you want to advertise, fucking come on. I don't give a shit. I'll sell out.
Again, we know somebody who had an Adam and Eve sponsorship in his podcast, and I'm like, where's our Adam and Eve sponsorship? Where the hell is it?
Maybe we got to hit them up.
Yeah, should be. Like, we can talk about, like, kinky gifts for him, her, and they, why not? I think that's the thing. And I remember in his ads, he was always like, kinky gifts for him, kinky gifts for her. It's like, what about the non-binary community? Adam and Eve? Oh. I guess maybe they're like, well, we're Adam and Eve. We're not Adam and they. Maybe maybe we've uncovered a prejudice within this whole industry.
Turns out it's homophobic as well. As there's no Adam and Steve.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we're coming for you, Adam and Eve. We're coming for you. We've uncovered the truth.
Maybe we can get them over the barrel now. There's gonna be like, you better freaking let us do ads for you. Otherwise, we're taking you down, baby. We're gonna leak out this info and we're gonna get you canceled.
Yep, that's it. We're coming for you. We can get that ad.
Mm-hmm. The Joker seems at one point he's wanting to fuck a robot at one point in the movie. So.
Don't we all? The only other note I have is the commentary track, as usual. And Joseph Diamond, I actually found out that is the pronunciation, Diamond, not Diamond or anything. Diamond. He says how Maurice, Jim, is one of the real gems of the movie. He's right.
Yes.
And he says, he just put everything into it. Which, again, I completely agree with. He's trying his absolute best. He's pouring his heart out every second of this film. And I think that, technically he's not a good actor.
And, technically he's not a good actor. And also in every other way, he's not a good actor.
Yeah, but at the same time, he's memorable and you connect with him. And he's putting effort and emotion into it, whether you think it's effective or not.
I mean, I gotta give it to them. Like, everybody in this movie, he's now getting his. We're 30 minutes in. We've not really had much of Jim.
No.
He's now finally getting his time to shine, which I think is true of like nearly all the main cast. Everybody gets their little moment to be like, hey, there's no one in this movie who's not memorable. It's the closest would be Jack Diamond himself. But he's memorable because he just seems like he's kind of doped up the entire movie as well. So he also gets in there. Like, everybody kind of sticks out when you think back. Like, oh no, I remember that mullet. I remember Mark. I remember freaking. It's like, I definitely remember Jim. Like, Jesus Christ.
Well, Joseph Diamond also says something that you're gonna love, right? Because you talked about things being considered training. So Joseph said he calls these scenes, doing these scenes, just part of Maurice's training. And he compares it to smashing concrete or breaking boards. He says this is just what Maurice had to do to get to that next level.
Wow. What next level? is the question I would have to that.
The next level of perfection in life, in self, in soul, I guess, in completeness.
Yeah. Maybe that was the entire reason for making the movie. It was just like, okay, guys, Taekwondo actually has this distinct level where you have to give a really heartfelt performance in a low-budget 80s action movie.
It's literally part of the curriculum.
We're basically gonna have to throw this together. But once you get past it, oh boy, you are going to transcend.
This whole movie was put together just to get Maurice up the next level.
They have so much promise.
Oh, I like that, though. The way he's viewing it. It's very Miyagi again. It's like, to achieve perfection as an individual, and which will also impact your martial arts. This is part of it.
Oh,
you're having to do things you're not comfortable with, you're not used to. You're having to learn a new skill.
I would love, though, if it was part of, like, the Karate Kid training. And in Cobra Kai, where you just see, like, okay, so now it's, like, after wax on, wax off, paint the fence, all that business, and it's, like, you just see Danny in the back going, like, it's my father. But I didn't like him because he left us. It's kind of like, yes, Daniel, you have to do the scene. Like, this is how you push through.
So it's wax on, wax off, paint the fence, find the father.
Yeah. That's how you ultimately defeat John Kreese. It's by coming out with this emotional outpouring about your dad, and then he's like, oh, I lost my father too. Like, but you tell me that we're both Orphans?
This is what it feels like when doves cry.
Hey, bringing it back to Prince way, way back at the start of the episode there too. So.
Everything's connected.
Hey, I guess that's a nice little, unless there's anything else, that's a nice little way to end, I guess.
That's all my notes for this one. So we will break the connection once again. If you want to speak to us, we're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Just look us up on there. Miami Minutes. We're all over the place. You can't get rid of us. And why don't you... what should we plug today? Why don't you check out the new season of Bat Minute? I know we've talked about Bat Minute a little bit, but when you hear this, it might not be out yet. It might be out. I don't know. We're recording the new Bat Minute season at the very least. Mask of the Phantasm. So you've got time to get caught up if you really want to, get caught up. But if not, get it added to your feed and get ready for the new season. You don't have to have listened to the old ones. It's fine.
Ooh. I mean, totally. It's kind of like it's a clean slate for us this season because we're not only are we moving to like a different continuity, we're also moving to like a different medium. So we're doing like, instead of live action, we're having to like, okay, now we're doing animation, and it has been different so far, but
in my note taking especially, it's like, okay, this I can't talk about the things I'd normally talk about. It makes me think outside of the box. It takes me to that next level. Yeah.
You can't just point out like how, dopey that guy's hat in the back of it is, or how many ugly people are in this scene, because they're all drawn. There's nothing like that in there.
Exactly. So it's making us think about things in a different way, and I hope we've helped you think about this movie in a different way so far, and we will continue to do so to the best of our ability. And do join us again for more of these wonderful observations and nonsense ramblings next week here on Miami Minutes.
Do you guys fighting or what?
We're your best friends.
Listen to me.